Today's review is sponsored by Corgi Stilts, because short dogs deserve to feel tall once in a while.
Watch it, Alan. I'm shooting.
Dr. Phibes Rises Again.
If music be the food of love, play on.
Last year, I reviewed The Abominable Dr. Phibes, starring one of my favorite actors, Vincent Price. So today, we're looking at the sequel. The Abominable Dr. Phibes is a fun British horror movie that many people consider to have inspired in one way or another the Saw movies. Check out that video if you want to get more information on that, me shamelessly whoring myself out. I love The Abominable Dr. Phibes. It's a fun movie. Highly recommended. The sequel is good, but not as good. We'll get into that.
Our voyage has now begun, Valnavia. Though brief the time aboard this ship will seem too long, I know.
In the sequel, Phibes has returned to try and bring his dead wife back to life. When he awakens from his tomb, he discovers that his home has been completely demolished, and this ancient papyrus has been stolen. This papyrus reveals the secret location of the River of Life in Egypt. He identifies the man that has stolen the scrolls. Both men and their prospective allies go to Egypt in search of the River of Life. While there, Dr. Phibes uses his typical creative ways to kill anyone who gets in his way of his goal, which is to resurrect his wife. Now, I do like Dr. Phibes Rises Again, but the movie has some problems. My main issue is how the movie starts. In order to talk about this, I have to spoil the first movie, so spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you have not seen The Abominable Dr. Phibes, please go check that one out before watching the rest of this video. I do recommend it. It's a fun movie. So, yeah, we're getting into spoilers in 3, 2, 1... So, as quickly as we can here, The Abominable Dr. Phibes is about this man named Dr. Phibes, played by Vincent Price. He's a man who is out for revenge against this group of surgeons who were unable to save his wife after the two of them suffered from a violent accident that killed her and horribly disfigured him.
He will have a face like mine.
It also ruins his vocal cords, but he finds this other way of speaking. It's a lot of fun, but again, for more details, watch the original review of that movie. Anyway, Phibes is out to kill this group of people, murdering each one of them one by one, and his method of killing is by taking inspiration from the 10 biblical plagues of Egypt. The kills are very good. The way Phibes incorporates each one of the plagues into his murders is a lot of fun. But getting into the ending of the movie, so we've come to the final plague of the film. After getting his revenge, Phibes is now enacting the last plague, which is darkness. So what he does is he has prepared this tomb with his dead wife in the sarcophagus. He lies in the sarcophagus with her, and he sets up this contraption that removes his blood and replaces it with embalming fluid, and that's how the movie ends, with Phibes putting himself to rest next to his dead wife. I really like this ending. It works very well with the character of Phibes and the way the movie sets that up. He's gotten his revenge, he's finished, he now chooses to rest in death alongside the woman he loves, who is the reason that he started all this in the first place. The sequel fucks that up. Dr. Phibes Rises from the Grave begins with this, recap of the first movie and this opening narration that ends up changing the ending of the first movie. Hell, it changes the core concept of the story. This new narration claims that Phibes' wife is not dead. She's in this state that is neither alive or dead, basically saying that she's in this state of suspended animation. And it also claims that Phibes is not dead. He's also in a state of suspended animation. That is until Dr. Phibes rises again, to begin his quest to bring his wife back to life.
He entered the crypt, where he had enshrined his beloved wife, incredibly maintained, neither alive nor completely dead. And there Phibes placed himself in suspended life, like her.
For me, that cheapens not only the ending of the first movie, but the story in general. In the first film, Phibes loves his wife so much that he's willing to go to these evil lengths to avenge her death. He's constantly talking about how these surgeons murdered his wife.
My wife existed only 6 minutes on the operating table, and then she was dead. You murdered her.
No.
Murdered her.
But having her be in suspended animation instead really hurts the story from the first movie. Why is Phibes going through all this revenge if his wife isn't really dead, if he can just bring her back to life? It also, having her not really be dead ruins the tragedy of the character of Dr. Phibes. Also, this is a lame way to bring Phibes back. There was something so poetically final about the ending of the first movie, but in the opening of the sequel, they're just like, nuh-uh, that didn't happen, he's just back.
Victoria, for 3 years I have rested beside you.
Same thing with his henchwoman. In the first movie, Dr. Phibes has this assistant named Valli. Now, she is killed at the end of the first movie, but in the sequel, they bring her back. Seriously, she literally just reappears.
And once again I call on you, Valli. Come one more time, my trusted aid. Join me and my beloved.
I know it's common for horror movie sequels to bring their villains back, and I have no problem with that as long as it makes sense to bring them back. I just think that in Dr. Phibes Rises Again, they could have found a better way to bring Phibes back. Now, Dr. Phibes Rises Again is an entertaining movie, but it doesn't have the same intrigue as the first film. The idea of Dr. Phibes using the 10 plagues of Egypt really drew you into the story. Kind of like in Seven, how the killer there used the 7 deadly sins in his murders. That creates intrigue. You're wondering, okay, how are they going to use this in the next murder? Dr. Phibes Rises Again doesn't have that. There is some intrigue, and it does keep its connection with its Egyptian themes. It's just not as grabbing as that concept from the first movie. Still, this is a fun sequel, and there is some intrigue, just not as much as the first movie. The kills in here are delightfully convoluted. You'll be watching a scene, and as everything's going along, you'll be like, okay, this is how the kill's going to go. But then it keeps going, and then something will happen that will make you say, wait, what? But in a good way. In a fun way. The kills aren't particularly gory, but they weren't in the first movie either. And there is still somewhat of a draw to there. They are still well-done kills. Like I said, it just doesn't have the same draw as the kills in the first movie. And the plot does keep you watching with Dr. Phibes and his rival, I guess, a man named Beiderbecke.
What fiend has taken it? Only one who seeks eternal life as I do? Beiderbecke.
Now, these guys are both searching for the River of Life. Both characters have their reasons for wanting to find the river. Now, the way it's set up, it sounds like Beiderbecke is a rival of Dr. Phibes, but as the movie goes along, it seems like they don't really know each other. It's kind of weird, but that doesn't ruin the movie. It still works.
Phibes!
So, we meet at last, Beiderbecke.
Where is she?
Waiting, as we all must wait.
And you are having a good time watching the film. Everything, is put together really well. This is a horror comedy just like the first one was, so it does have its humorous moments. We are still having a good time between the kills. And there is a big reveal towards the end of the film that feels a bit rushed. It's not a huge problem, but it is noticeable. The film is entertaining, mostly because of Vincent Price. He was great as Dr. Phibes in the first movie, and he's great as Dr. Phibes in this one.
You have so little time, Beiderbecke.
What kind of fiend are you?
The kind that wins, my friend.
Vincent Price always gives 110%, and he slides right back into this role. It feels like the exact same character we had from the first movie. Dr. Phibes is always fun to watch. Vincent Price handles the role with this suave dignity and dark sense of humor. There's not much else to say here. It's a good sequel to the first film. It does have its issues, but there's enough to enjoy here if you're a fan of the Abominable Dr. Phibes. I love the first movie, and it's nice to see Vincent Price in this role again. And with that, let's get to the Grindhouse rankings. We've got a body count of 6. The kills consist of, but are not limited to, a pick through the ear, death by hawk, death by scorpions, and getting crushed. I consider this a proto-slasher movie, so it reaches the slasher requirements with a decent body count, a variety of kills, and a good killer. The opening narration isn't the best way to open the film. They could have come up with a better way to bring Phibes back. While not as intriguing as the first movie with the 10 Plagues of Egypt concept, the movie still manages to keep you interested in the plot. Vincent Price is awesome as always. It's nice to see him as this character again. The kills are still good. They don't have the same grab as the first movie, but they do work. The story is interesting, but I do think it could have been executed better. Despite that, the film is still entertaining and a fine sequel to the first movie. I'm giving this a 3.4 out of 5. It's a fun sequel, but it could have been better. If you like the first movie, check this one out. As always, I want to thank all of you for continuing to watch and support this channel. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know your least favorite opening to a sequel. This is the Maniac, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die. I'm just kidding, I'm fine. None of that really happened. See how that doesn't work?